You've seen it all over the internet, right? Biohacking, de-aging, this whole quest to live forever. It's everywhere. But what's actually real and what's just, well, expensive marketing? That's what we're going to dig into today. We're separating the legitimate hope from the crazy hype. So let's start with a number, $2 million. That's what tech centimillionaire Bryan Johnson spends every single year on his personal project to basically turn back time. A radical regimen to reverse his biological age. And hey, on paper, the results are kind of wild. I mean, we're talking about the heart of a 37-year-old, the skin of a 28-year-old, and get this, the lung capacity of an 18-year-old. But the routine to get there? It's intense. He's downing over 100 pills a day and measuring, well, everything, from how many gray hairs he has to, yes, even his nighttime erections. So this all begs a pretty big question, right? Especially for those of us who, don't have a spare $2 million lying around. Is this what the future of health is going to look like? Or is he just creating the world's most expensive urine? Okay, to figure that out, let's dive in. We're going to open up the medicine cabinet of the whole biohacking world and see what's actually inside. All right, first up on the list is a drug called Metformin. Now, you might have heard of it. It's been the go-to drug for type 2 diabetes for a long, long time. But in these longevity circles, man, they talk about it like it's the Holy Grail. And the reason for all this excitement? Well, it traces back to this one huge study that found something really unexpected. So here's the theory. The promise is that metformin triggers this kind of biological spring cleaning inside your cells. It's a process called autophagy. Some early studies even hinted that diabetics taking it were living longer than healthy people not taking it. Pretty wild, right? But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. For someone who's already healthy, it can actually get in the way of the benefits you get from exercise. It can blunt muscle growth. You're basically tinkering with a perfectly good metabolism. And honestly, we just don't know what the long-term risks of that are. Okay, next on our tour are NAD+ boosters. I'm sure you've heard the buzz about these. The best way to think about NAD+, imagine they're like a fleet of delivery trucks for your cells. They're constantly zipping around, dropping off energy that powers literally everything, and even helps repair your DNA. Now here's the problem. As we get older, our fleet of these little delivery trucks, well, it basically drives off a cliff. By the time you hit 50, you've only got about half the NAD+ you had when you were 20. So the thinking is pretty straightforward, right? Just take a pill, get more of those delivery trucks back on the road, and you'll live longer. Simple. Well, not so fast. The problem is, when you look at the actual data in humans, it's pretty thin. Almost all of those miracle results you hear about, they're from studies on mice. And there's a really serious safety question that hasn't been answered. Some scientists are worried that because cancer cells are super hungry for energy, cranking up your NAD+ levels might be like throwing gasoline on a fire if you have any precancerous cell. Okay, so it seems like the evidence for these so-called miracle pills is, let's just say it's shaky. But what about all the other stuff? The expensive gadgets, the fancy routines? This gets us to a really important point, the massive gap between what you see on social media and what happens in a lab. A lot of these trends, ice baths, saunas, you name it, they're actually based on a real scientific idea called hormesis. It's basically the scientific version of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The whole idea is that a tiny bit of controlled stress, like heat or cold, actually forces your body to get tougher and more resilient. But here's the thing. You absolutely do not need a $10,000 commercial cold plunge to get that effect. You can get something like 80% of the benefit for literally 0% of the cost just by taking a freezing cold shower. Yup, that's it. And guess what? It's the exact same story when it comes to heat. You could go out and buy an $8,000 infrared sauna, or you could just go for a brisk walk or a jog. Anything to get your body temperature up. Again, you're getting most of the same benefits for free. So if it's not really about the super expensive pills and the fancy gadgets, then what is it about? What's the real blueprint for a long, healthy life? Let's talk about the solution that gets you 90% of the way there, the one that the marketing campaigns never seem to mention. Okay, the truth is, it's a little bit boring, but it's also absolutely crucial. About 90% of your health span, how long you live well, comes down to just 4 things: getting high-quality sleep, doing consistent resistance training, not eating a ton of sugar all the time, what we call metabolic flexibility, and the last one, which is so often ignored, is having deep, meaningful social connections.
And I really want this next point to land. Being lonely is statistically more dangerous to your lifespan than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Let that sink in for a second. You can take every pill, you can optimize every single metric, but if you're alone and you're stressed out, you're missing the biggest part of the equation by a mile.
And the problem with this whole longevity industrial complex, as people are calling it, is that it turns being healthy into a kind of status symbol. It makes you feel like you're doing something wrong if you can't afford the latest $1,000 gadget. But that's not what this should be about. The whole point of medicine, of science, should be to make health more accessible for everyone, not to put it behind some multi-million-dollar paywall.
Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean there isn't some truly exciting science happening. There absolutely is. So let's shift gears a bit and look past all the consumer hype to what's really on the horizon, the actual hard science of aging, which is called geroscience. This right here is where it gets really interesting. This is the real frontier. Scientists are working on a whole new class of drugs called senolytics, and their job is to basically act like assassins that hunt down and destroy zombie cells. These are old, damaged cells that should have died but didn't. They just hang around causing inflammation and trouble. Getting rid of these zombie cells, that's where the real legitimate hope for the future of aging is. So I want to leave you with one final thought. Please don't let all these multi-million-dollar routines make you feel like what you're doing isn't enough. The best way to think about your health isn't to hack your body like it's some machine you can upgrade. It's so much better to think of your body as a garden. You don't fix a garden with a wrench. You nourish it, you tend to it, and you give it time and patience.